strong lineups too as we get a closer look at this draft. You see the Krull getting picked there. Maybe we'll see that Samurai Krull skin come out here. But Reza, Gwen, these two have been so strong when they get picked up, especially this Reza. He has been dominant in games. The Fortress we haven't been able to see much of, and then the Celeste as well. That is an incredibly powerful lineup that the side of Equinox has been able to put together.
Absolutely. Salty Potatoes looking like they're drafting a little bit more like Rising Lotus. A lot of backline squishy carries. You do have the Gromcha in the front, which is not a pick we've seen in the past couple of weeks. He was very popular early on. Definitely interested to see how that plays out in this game.
Yeah, and of course, the other thing that kind of stood out to me was Maline being banned on A side by Salty Potatoes. We talked about the fact that it's typically going to be a B side ban, so maybe Salty Potatoes not feeling comfortable with that hero themselves. Who knows? We may get to see it, but we are going to be getting on to the Rise for our second game of the day, throwing it right back to Dowsy and Stress.
Wow, what an incredible first game we had earlier, Stress, but now let's focus in on Salty Potatoes and Equinox. Last week, Salty Potatoes losing to Rising Lotus meant they tied in that third place. They've got a chance to take third place back for their own if they're able to beat out Equinox.
If they can. We've obviously seen a bunch of changes here as well on this Salty Potatoes lineup. The last 2 weeks have been a little bit tumultuous for them when it comes to the roster, so we'll see if they can. Looking at Equinox as well, there's a few new players in here as well. Baby Groot and Baby Groot Part 2 coming in.
They are notorious in the European Challenger scene for the last year, and actually a very decent team that's constantly surprised and really just shown that growth over time. So seeing them on the big stage here, Baby Groot and the original Baby Groot Part 2, believe it or not, that's the original player and the original name, may just be what Equinox needs really to solidify their roster as a potential competitive competitor in Europe. There we go, tongue twisters.
Tongue twisters. Well, we'll see if Baby Groot and Baby Groot Part 2 can improve and grow a little bit more. Maybe they'll become Teenage Groot and Teenage Groot Part 2 as they kind of settle themselves on with Equinox. But when we look at this draft, they talked a little bit on the desk about how strong Reza, how strong Gwen have been just kind of historically over the last week or so. Like, I feel like we're starting to see that drop off a little bit with the way that people are starting to play differently in the early game. Like, I don't think it's like Reza and Gwen are going to fall off or anything, but certainly the games are going longer, which means we're starting to see a lot of these longer range, harder to actually kill with the shorter range heroes. So expect the Varia to come back in. I don't think we're going to see a massive shift, but certainly I think the Varia is going to be more prominent the longer this goes.
Yeah, and PT Lamb, new face for Salty Potatoes, has just played so much Varia. He is excellent on this pick, has really been performing very well over time. Back on 3v3, on 5v5 as well. And you can see Salty Potatoes still reimagining their roster, still trying to find the roster that they feel comfortable playing with. We'll have to see if this is it for them. This matchup really is just going to tell a tale of where these two teams at. You know, the continuous roster changes is what makes the preseason invitational such a valuable time for a lot of these teams here, because they are able to test so many combinations, so many rosters, and really try and find the one that works for when the regular season starts up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the same goes for looking at team compositions and heroes themselves, because at the desk, another thing they mentioned was the fact that it was a Maline ban by Salty Potatoes, and then picking Churnwalker. Like, to say that that is their highest priority hero is a very interesting thing. We've seen it be very high in priority, but it's not going to help them at this point. It's halfway across the map. Salty Potatoes bot side.
Yeah, Viking in a lot of trouble here, and he is just going to lose his life straight up. Aeon going to be caught up in that core collapse, running away on that Grumchaw, is going to be able to escape. But first blood in the camp of Equinox here, and now Aeon may have just overstepped, trying to run. I Love Shy, not quite able to get Baby Groot Part 2 into range, but a weaponry and steel will come through, and a very solid beginning for Equinox.
Yeah, very solid. Like, Equinox is one of the teams we've seen struggle the most. There is an answer happening on the top side for Salty Potatoes with the attempted steal of their own, but oh, Aeon now has Viking alongside.
Yeah, Aeon does secure the gold oak. Will lose his life for it. Can Viking get a return? Lots of burst potential in a Crew and a Reza. but Viking has done enough damage to Alex SS and Baby Group Part 2 to force them back here, and it is going to be 2 kills taken by Equinox, but a jungle secured by the looks of it by Salty Potatoes.
Good start though for Equinox. A couple of the games we've seen, it has been almost Equinox not getting out of the starting block, so this certainly is a lot better out of them. I kind of feel like this roster changes and everything that's happened with the Salty Potatoes lineup, on the other hand, has kind of hurt them, because there was a time where they looked as good potentially in their opening games as Queso did. Now, Queso have improved dramatically since, and I think Queso are unquestionably one of the top 2 teams, but Salty Potatoes, week 2, week 3, we were starting to say, hey, this team looks like they could compete with the likes of Clash and Queso, but hasn't looked as convincing now that they've had to change a few members, and we've heard a lot of different things about why, but certainly the results just haven't been as fruitful with the kind of turmoil they've been under.
Definitely does add to the difficulty for the Salty Potatoes roster, but also gives way for players to make their own legacy and really show their value as well here in Europe. We'll have to see if the likes of PT Lamb and Rearin are able to do so as they join the roster. Currently has been a very slow matchup. A 400 gold lead is there for Equinox for those 2 kills. With only a minute and a half on this Ghost Wing, I think that's really going to kind of showcase where these teams are at macroly. Once more, it does look like a bit of a fight in the bot side. Aeon gets caught up. In fact, Aeon fails his dive, but it isn't going to be a follow-up coming out of Equinox.
Yeah, no follow-up, but I want to look at something in the builds here. I know I'm talking a lot about Varia, I've been spamming it all week, but this is a very early reflex block. You can buy it this early. It's against Kroll, is one of the things I'm looking at. Is like, you don't want to get caught by that ult, get stunned. You can delay your damage slightly if you think it's that significant to get the reflex block early on before alternating current. So the push power won't quite be up to the strength that we normally expect from this Varia, but still, certainly you're going to buy a reflex block at some point in your build, and if you're worried about the early game, it could be a decent decision out of PT Lamb. We'll take a look at where that first Cruel ult actually ends up going.
Yeah, currently, Baby Group Part 2 hasn't quite hit level 6. In fact, there it is. Just pops as I say it. So now we'll have to see where he aims that sword. Looking like he's holding out in his jungle here, waiting for the weapon treant to spawn. Once he gets that weapon treant, very good time to really find a gank, and we'll have to see where he prioritizes. I Love Shy, a little bit of damage taken. Not too much here. Salty Potatoes just currently playing with their food as they look to group up potentially in the bot side. Alex SS has been pushed under his turret by Viking. Aeon with the ultimate, gonna eat up Alex SS, and oh dear, can Alex SS get out of this one? Blocks up that active camo. In fact, Rearin dives very deep under the turret, taking a lot of damage in the process. Other side of the map, Baby Groot is pressuring PT Lamb. This could be an issue. Maybe PT Lamb under the turret, the Baby Groots could gang up on him. This turret potentially will just go down. We'll have to see what happens as Baby Groot takes away the jungle.
Yeah, and that's one of the difficulties right now in this mid lane.
Oh! Okay. I was going to say, PT Lamb, a player with so much competitive experience, surely wouldn't fall for that.
Yeah, and he also had the reflex block available, so... but the key thing is the fact that without the ability to de-push the lane, because of the lack of damage early on, he's getting shoved in. The Cruel's moving up into the top lane now, actually.
Yeah, there's going to be Imagination going down here, not able to keep his life. And Baby Group Part 2 finds a point on the board for the side of Equinox with that ultimate. And looks like the turret should go down as well. This would be the first turret of the game. Rearin can't really stop it. The Varia ult comes out, but it's way too late, and that's going to be the turret going down. Baby Groot jumps onto Rearin here, but does have Aeon in support coming over the wall. Baby Groot Part 2 in a bit of trouble as the burst comes out. Ultimate comes out. One shot connects with Safantu on the backside, but that's not the main target, and here comes Shy. Oh dear, Hungry misses, and that's going to be Aeon punished. I Love Shy now running onto Rearin, but I don't think the rest of the team can get there in time. Will just be another kill going over to Equinox.
This looks like a completely different Equinox, and it is basically because the roster is different, but look at how much quicker they're moving around the map. Baby Groot and Baby Groot Part 2 is having quite a big impact. Like, we're seeing a much different team on the pace in the early game, and they're punishing Salty Potatoes pretty hard. Now they're moving towards that mid tower because they know this Varia cannot push back this lane, and that's another tower going down very quickly.
Very clean game from Equinox so far. Bot lane potentially in trouble. Alex SS has never formed Detonator up. Oh, a Solar Storm rips through Viking! And that's going to be you going back to the Sanctuary. Alex SS now going to start up on this turret. Rieren and Aeon have found I Love Shy caught out, but not really, because he roots up Aeon in that tree. And PT Lamb moves on in. This should be Salty Potatoes finding their first kill onto I Love Shy. I say, but now the dog is running. Alex SS just pushing. He is very confident in his ability to run, but the reflex bot comes out too late. Never formed Detonator up and alive. Doesn't even need it. The rest of the team is here for the fight, and Salty Potatoes are on the retreat. Aeon finds a kill on the backline. PT Lamb secures it. Baby Group Part 2 will be pulled in. Doesn't necessarily want to continue that one, and Stefan will run with the aces high, finding Imagination. The first kill of the game will go over for Salty Potatoes, but a Solar Storm threatens. That's going to be one. Oh, I thought it was going to be a second. The Spellfire ticket on rear run. PT Lamb caught out potentially. He's trying to run from Alex SS, but running is hard against a Reza. Can they get in range is the question. Alex SS going to have that be up in a second. Never formed Detonate into Troublemakers the combo, but can't quite find the range. Still Equinox hold form.
Big turnaround from Equinox down in that bottom lane. PT Lamb still staying around in the mid lane. Like, that looked such a difficult situation to get out of, but I guess when you're playing against Groot, the Treants are going to help that team, right? Equinox clearly have the jungle on their side as well. That Root basically saving their life in the jungle. Then they're able to kind of reposition, get themselves into a spot where the damage just comes out very freely. And I don't think Salty Potatoes were quite prepared for that fight, considering they were the ones thinking they had like a 4 versus 2 in the bot lane and everybody was half health already. I think they were expecting a quick in and out. Turns out we got another fight coming down the bottom side as well as Shy goes in.
Yeah, this could potentially be disastrous for Salty Potatoes if Equinox were in position to dive, but you look at that minion wave all the way up at the turret instead. Now focusing in on towards that Ghost Wing. A Cruel, a Fortress, taking it down fairly quickly with Baby Groot able to hold everyone back with those core collapses and of course the Helogenesis. Aeon once again to range, so there's Rieren. Barrier ult is ticking around. Here comes the rest of Salty Potatoes. Sfantu in the middle of the fight. This is not looking good for Equinox, but I say that Alex S blows up Viking, going in for more. A double kill so far for PT Lamb, and he's looking for more. PT Lamb finds another. A double kill comes through for Imagination's Vox, and only Alex SS is left alive. The Ghost Wing secured, but really was it worth? PT Lamb says, no, I want the ace. But it looks like Alex S is going to run and potentially prevent that from coming through. 2 seconds on Stefan to Alex S will survive. And that Ghost Wing did not go well for the side of Equinox.
It's not something we talked about yet in this matchup, but this is a CP Vox. This isn't the weapon power Vox that we've been seeing quite commonly, which of course people maybe haven't seen it so much since 3v3, but CP Vox has this massive AoE damage in teamfights, as does Varia. Like, when you start keying that all together in the Ghost Wing pit, that is where the fight turned around, and that's why it was looking decent for Equinox on the start. It was because Vox was getting zoned away topside, so he gets denied out of the fight, finally turns around, gets the big ult and the resonance through the fight, and suddenly everybody loses their life, and Equinox find themselves on the back foot from that fight. There's still a gold lead for Equinox, but it started to turn a little bit in favor of Salty Potatoes over the last few minutes.
A Varia and a CP Vox scale very well into the late game. And that is where we're heading for Salty Potatoes. That's the thing that you have to keep in mind. That Grumpjaw really is their only way of keeping fast in the early game. The real early game power comes from that Grumpjaw. But in the late game, when you have AoE plus AoE amp, wow, that is going quick. And just completely under the noses, actually, of Salty Potatoes. They had no vision, and they have no right to that Black Claw. Now Equinox looking for the fight. Is going to be the guy engaged coming through. Baby Group zoned out, but part 2 holding fast. A Solar Storm rips through the entire roster, and the first kill will go through for that Fortress. Part 2 wants to escape as Aeon dives in, but that was a mistake, and now the Black Claw's pushing in the turret as well. Tier 2 goes down. The Varia ult might be enough to push the Equinox roster back, Everyone's dancing, everyone's dodging. A good,
Don't
successful dodge from Equinox. Now, this turret should go down. They've caught out the Kestrel. That is disastrous. The ace is high, so good. Alex SS zoning back. Armory going to go down. In fact, Equinox might just be going for everything here. The Vein Crystal is now under fire. Salty Potatoes, can they hold off? PT Lamb diving in. 1 kill goes over 2, in fact. But the Vein Crystal is falling. This is going to be Equinox finding a win over Salty Potatoes. And they've done so in style. A single push with a Black Claw finds the win. And the ace coming out of Salty Potatoes is way too late. A new roster, the Baby Groots and Part 2 have solidified Equinox here in the EU VPL. And it was such a great sight to witness.
Oh, it's been crazy, crazy games today. We're gonna need the desk to help break these endings down because they have been insane.
Wow.
Well, there is a